This flight mysteriously went missing 5 years ago and has just landed out of nowhere. But its passengers have no idea, and they are about to learn the troubling truth that they have long been declared dead. On April 7, 2013, a young police officer, Michaela, waits to fly back home with her family at an airport. Michaela's mother wants her to get married to her fiancé, Jared, soon, but Michaela knows that the family has too many problems. Her brother Ben and sister-in-law Grace's son Cal has an incurable form of cancer, and she doesn't want to think of celebrating until he is better. Her mother recites a Bible verse to her, "All things work together for good." An announcement on the speaker lets the family know that their current flight is overbooked, so some passengers must stay back. Ben, Michaela, and Cal stay back, while her mother, father, Grace, Jared, and Cal's twin sister Olive leave for New York. Later, the Montego air flight from Jamaica to New York City has taken off and is flying smoothly. Suddenly, there is terrible turbulence on the plane, leading to passengers freaking out. After the turbulence passes, the captain apologizes to the passengers, and eventually the plane prepares to land in New York. The captain contacts the control center for clearance, but notices the suspicion in the voice of the operator when he mentions the flight number. As the plane lands, the passengers exit to find ambulances and police cars outside the plane. The crowd is eventually informed that their flight had set off in 2013, but it was currently 2018. The passengers are questioned about their whereabouts, but they all have the same story. 36 hours after landing, the passengers are allowed to be free. The three reunite with Grace and Michaela's father, and Ben looks around for Olive. He finds that she has grown up in 5 years, and the two share a tender embrace. The three learn that Michaela's mother has passed away, and Jared couldn't make it to see them. Michaela breaks down hearing this, knowing she wasn't there in her mother's last moments. As they return home, Ben finds pictures of Olive growing up. Michaela finds a cushion with her mother's favorite Bible verse on it. Later, she returns to her work, where her surrounding officers look at her strangely. Across the office, she locks eyes with Jared, who seems internally troubled and guilty to see her. Jared tells her he's been promoted to detective and if working on an abduction case of 2 girls. As the two talk, Michaela notices a wedding ring on his finger, and he confesses that he has married her best friend, Lourdes. Michaela walks away upset. Ben and Grace take Cal for a checkup, in which the doctor informs them that his cancer has not progressed. She tells them a new type of treatment has been created for pediatric patients, but she is hopeful it could cure Cal. Michaela, on the bus, hears a voice in her head, telling her to get the bus to drive slower. She asks the driver, and eventually he slows down. Just then, a small child runs in front of the bus, but is not harmed. Michaela tries sharing the events with Ben, but he tells her she is going psychotic. He warns her to keep her thoughts to herself before she ends up in a mental hospital. Another passenger, researcher Sanvi, returns to her hospital. She finds out that her research has helped save hundreds of pediatric cancer patients while she was gone. While running, Michaela is startled by 2 dogs, barking at her from behind a fence. Michaela hears the voice again, telling her to set them free. She ignores it, but after being woken up at night, goes to set them free. She's joined by Ben, who tells her he has been hearing voices too. The two break open the gate, and the dogs run to freedom. Jared is put onto the case of the break and questions Michaela. She explodes at him, telling him of her grief in the last few days. Jared hugs her to comfort her. Sanvi sits in on a meeting for cancer cases to be treated with the treatment. She sees a picture of Cal and wants to save him. Her superior doctor claims he can't take the risk, but Sanvi is insistent on saving the boy, as she believes they were both given a second chance to live. Jared and Michaela revisit the garage, where she broke open the lock. While he speaks to the owner, Michaela hears the voice again, asking her to set them free. Wandering around, she finds a small, locked shed and breaks open the lock. Jared and the owner find her banging on the lock. As she breaks it, inside she finds the 2 abducted girls and notifies Jared. He is almost hit by the owner but is able to handcuff him. Michaela comforts the girls, telling them they're safe now. Grace and Ben have a conversation where she confesses that in the past 5 years she has blamed him for a lot of things. She has blamed him for taking the later flight and taking Cal with him. However, she confesses that she has realized in order for Cal to continue living, he had to be on that plane. All of the passengers on the plane begin seeing a vision of a plane. Michaela and Ben are among the passengers with the vision. All of the passengers end up going to the location of their envisioned plane. As they look on, they see the plane explode in front of their eyes. The NSA questions the passengers about the exploding plane and their presence when it happened. The stories are the same by everyone, and Michaela begins to get annoyed. Before allowing the passengers to leave, the head warns them that they cannot discuss this incident with anyone. Michaela heads to the precinct, where she finds Lords waiting for her. She avoids her and goes to meet her boss, who is willing to let her join again. She just has to take some tests to ensure her health is perfect. Ben, who is there for the second round of Cal's treatment, leaves his care to Grace. As he walks along the streets, he hears a strange melody in his head. Following the tune, he finds another passenger, Rad, who needs help contacting his son, Adio. He says that his son has been accused of robbing a jewelry store and is in jail, but he believes he's innocent. Eventually, Ben agrees to help him. Ben contacts Michaela, who helps Rad meet his son. Rad has an emotional moment with his son, where he promises he will fight for him. Ben and Rad visit the store and meet the owner's son, who tells them he doesn't know what to believe. Olive seems to be ignoring Ben's attempts to spend time together. Ben reminisces about when the kids were younger. In the morning, Michaela overhears Grace talking to someone. She figures out that Grace has fallen in love with another man and asks her to tell Ben. On the news, Ben hears a passenger, Kelly, talk about her experience on the plane. Michaela visits a therapist, finally accepting everything that has happened to her. The therapist tells her that she's recommending Michaela to be put back on the force. Later, Michaela opens social media to find that Lords left many posts and happy birthday messages to her during the 5 years. Back at home, Olive suddenly asks Ben to take a ride with her. She tells Ben that 2 years after their disappearance, Grace had sent Ben's and Cal's things off to the Salvation Army, but she had canceled the pickup. Leading him to a storage unit, she opens the unit, and Ben finds out that Grace has had a lover in these 5 years. Ben suddenly hears music in his head, and following it, he finds the jewelry store owner's son with all of the stolen jewelry. The son tries to bribe him, but Ben knocks him out in anger. The son is arrested, and Michaela tries to convince Ben that this is the plan of some higher power which he doesn't believe. Back at home, Cal unboxes his old stuff, and Grace gestures to Olive to talk. Olive tells her mother that it's time to let go. Michaela visits Lords and mentions that she saw the posts she left. She lies to Lords and tells her that she was about to reject Jared's proposal and that Lords did nothing wrong by marrying him. The two share a hug. Ben speaks to Grace about her love affair and convinces her to try for the marriage. Michaela returns her ring to Jared. Kelly is watching her interview on television when suddenly she is shot and killed. Ben, Michaela, and Grace watch the news after the murder. Michaela leaves to investigate the murder. Ben calls Sanvi, who tells him that she found a new protein in Cal's blood. She mentions it wasn't there before and hasn't been caused by the cancer. Michaela sits in her car and has a flashback to an accident in which her friend Evie died. Unable to drive herself, she asks Ben to take her. The two visit the crime scene and examine the body. An NSA agent, Robert Vance, appears and asks them to leave, as they are also passengers of the flight. As they leave the area, they find Kelly's husband, Patrick, next to an ambulance. He tells them that Kelly said she had to speak about her experience, as it was a calling to her. Rewatching the footage, Michaela notices Kelly saying, "Own your truth." She remembers reassembling fridge magnets to say the same. She asks Jared to get her some more information on the case, even though it might get him and her in trouble. Ben and Michaela revisit Patrick, who reveals Kelly had been saying the phrase often. He also reveals that Kelly had been paranoid about being followed. The housekeeper, Christine, reveals that Kelly had come back from the mall with bruises on her arms. As the two prepare to leave, Michaela sees Evie's mother, Beverly. A flashback reveals that Evie's parents, Glenn and Beverly, were angry at Michaela, who they blamed for Evie's death. Michaela visits Evie's parents' house, where Beverly greets her with joy. She learns that Beverly has dementia and doesn't remember Evie has passed away. Glenn has forgiven her, after all the years that it has been. Jared tells Michaela that according to his research, Kelly owned a shopping center. After thanking him, she goes off to investigate. Ben searches the house for surveillance technology while on the phone with Sanvi. She tells him that the protein inside Cal's blood is also in her, and there is a possibility it is inside every passenger. Ben finds a prophylactic under the bed, which leaves him confused. Ben hears the doorbell ringing, only to find Cal's old best friend Kevin, now grown up. Kevin offers to hang out with Cal soon. It's revealed that Olive has been going out with Kevin, which upsets Cal. Afterward, Michaela informs Ben of her new discovery. Together, they visit the mall. They try to speak to a woman who suddenly begins running away. After a long chase, they corner her while she drops to her knees. The woman confesses that Mr. Taylor only rents out shops to illegal immigrants. He requires 40% of the profits, and if they fail to pay, he calls immigration to have them deported. The woman states that she didn't attack Kelly, she only pushed her away. She was afraid Kelly was there to take the money, which she didn't have. However, Kelly had promised her that she would put an end to this. Using this new information, the two begin to believe the husband had killed her because she has started to shut down the family business. Robert Vance tries to convince the precinct captain to keep tabs on Michaela, who denies this request. He then tries to coerce Jared into revealing information, stating he knows he's been inquiring about Kelly's murder case, which is out of his jurisdiction. Sanvi compares brain scans and finds that the protein in her and Cal's blood is produced by an ischemic stroke. Michaela speaks to the man who is the only suspect of Kelly's murder. He speaks to her, telling her she needs to own her truth. Michaela visits Evie's parents' house again, trying to tell them about the night of the accident. Glenn mentions that Beverly has disappeared and tosses Michaela the car keys. As Michaela sits in the car, she has a flashback to the night of the accident. The two had just left a party, and Evie wanted to drive. Knowing that her friend was too drunk, Michaela offered to drive instead. In the present, Michaela faces her fear of driving and finds Beverly in the middle of the road. A car suddenly comes at Beverly, but Michaela stops the car from crashing into Beverly. Michaela approaches the other car and finds Christine, with Kelly's stolen necklace right next to her. Christine tries to flee, but Michaela pulls out her gun. Back at the precinct, Christine says that when Kelly had been gone, she had been the one taking care of Patrick. They had not been in a relationship, but Christine said they didn't need to be. Watching him eat and look better made her feel whole, and Kelly had ruined everything. So she had killed her, knowing that she was already supposed to be dead. As Michaela leaves the conference room, she's confronted by Jared. Jared is suspicious of her ability to be at the right place at the right time and solve these crimes. He asks her to talk. Michaela tells Jared that something is happening to her that she can't explain. She also tells him that she's trying to figure out what is happening, so until she does, she doesn't want him to know everything. At home, Ben asks Grace if she still loves the man she was with during his disappearance. Grace promises him that she only loves him and that she never stopped. She says they're starting a new beginning. In the precinct, Jared tears up the business card given to him by Robert Vance, as he has decided not to give reports on Michaela. Michaela approaches Ben to tell him that Sanvi wants to see them. When they meet Sanvi, she tells them about her discovery of the ischemic stroke. Sanvi claims that if she could find some brain cells, she could prove that her theory of the stroke was correct. Ben knows that she is thinking of Kelly as a test subject. Sanvi then informs them that she logged into the ME's database, but Kelly's body is not among the people whose bodies have been registered in the Long Island morgue in the last 48 hours. It turns out that the NSA agents have taken Kelly's body for their own personal examinations. Manifest is a supernatural drama series that first aired in 2018. Receiving mixed reviews from critics, the series was canceled after just 3 seasons, even though the original plan was for the show to run for 6. However, the show received widespread support from its viewers and was picked up for a 4th and final season to provide the fans with an end to the story that was not abrupt. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like our channel and subscribe if you enjoy content like this. Also, let us know what movie you would love us to recap for you.